My name is Harold Thompson. I was born in 1920 in a small town called Millersville, Ohio. When you're young, life seems simple and straightforward. Waking up, working, studying, making friends, and eventually starting a family. But everything changed when the war came. World War II. In 1942, at 21 years old, reality hit me hard. It was no longer about what I wanted to do, but what my country needed me to do. I knew that everyone was being called up, and like so many other young men, I didn't hesitate to enlist. I didn't know what war really meant. I didn't really understand what it meant to live or die, but I knew it was my duty. I joined the U.S. Army, and soon I was assigned to the 82nd Airborne Division. I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but I wanted to be useful. I wanted to be part of something bigger. Life as a paratrooper wasn't easy. The training was intense and brutal. Every day felt like a test of physical and mental endurance. We were trained to jump out of planes and land behind enemy lines, quickly and efficiently. The idea was simple, but the reality was much harsher. The training days weren't just about making us strong, but about making us survive. By 1944, I was ready, or at least I thought I was. We were sent to Normandy, where the invasion would be a milestone in the history of the war. I remember the moment I was ordered to board the plane. Nervousness took over me. The fear was real. I knew there was no turning back. As soon as the plane took off, the sound of the propellers and the wind making the wings tremble was almost deafening. I looked at my comrades, and everyone seemed so calm, like nothing could scare us. But inside, I was terrified. Every second in that plane felt like an eternity. When the door of the plane opened and we began to jump into the darkness, a part of me knew that the war would be a nightmare. The ground in France seemed far away, and suddenly, panic completely took over me. The sight of my friends jumping and spreading out was the last image I saw before hitting the ground. What I found when I touched down in Normandy was nothing like I imagined. The battlefield wasn't heroic like the movies showed. It was a dirty, grim, and dangerous place. The sound of explosions, gunfire, and screams of pain were constant. Everything around me was chaotic, and the fear of dying at any moment was tangible. I saw many of my comrades fall, and among them was Alan, one of the closest men I had. He was just a few meters from me when a grenade exploded. The last thing I saw was the fear in his eyes, and then he was taken by death. I knew I would never see his smile or hear his laugh again, and that's when the true pain of war became real for me. I already knew that loss would be constant, but nothing prepares you for that. Nothing prepares you to lose those you consider brothers. After Normandy, things didn't improve. We were sent to Bastogne, Belgium, during the winter of 1944. I had never felt cold like that. The winter seemed to freeze our very bones, and at the same time, the war didn't stop. We were surrounded by enemy forces, and there wasn't a single moment to rest. The battles continued day and night. Fear was present with every step we took, but what haunted me the most wasn't the cold or the gunfire. It was the fact that death seemed to be around every corner. Every time we heard a shot or saw an explosion, all my comrades looked at each other, wondering who would be next. At that time, I began to understand the true weight of war. It's not just about the fight. It's not just about defeating the enemy. It's about loss. And those losses, those deaths that happen around you, are the ones that change you. Every time someone fell, a part of us was lost. I looked at my friends and wondered who would be next. Every day, when the attacks came, I asked myself if it was my turn. With every explosion, every shot, every moment of silence after the battle, I felt an immense pain, a pain that couldn't be explained. And, in that winter, the hardest loss for me was Billy, another friend of mine. He was beside me, trying to take cover behind a snow wall when a grenade exploded. Billy fell right there, beside me, and I couldn't do anything to help him. I just stood there, frozen, watching him go. The look in his eyes still haunts me today. I know he died thinking of his family, his wife, and everything he left behind, and I was there, unable to do anything, watching his life being taken from us. After all this time, I still ask myself why it wasn't me. Why did he have to go and I stayed? This question never left my mind. Guilt, that constant feeling that I could have done more, consumed me for years. What nobody told me about war was that the pain of losing friends would never go away. It stays with you. The guilt stays with you, even after you come home. I always imagined that when I returned, things would be different, but nothing was like I expected. Nothing would ever be the same again. When we finally came back home, the war seemed to have ended for everyone, but for me, it never ended. The Americans celebrated the victory, but for me, the pain didn't go away. I couldn't fit back in. Nothing was right. I tried to be the man everyone expected me to be, the husband and the father, but deep inside, I knew a part of me had stayed in Europe with the friends I lost. The country was in celebration, but I couldn't feel the same joy. I looked at my wife and my children, and I felt distant. I was there physically, but my mind was elsewhere. It was lost back there, on those battlefields, with those friends who never returned. I couldn't sleep. Every night was a battle. The nightmares, the sound of explosions, the voices of my lost friends, all of that haunted me constantly. I didn't know how to talk about what I lived through. How could I? How could I tell someone that for months, the only thing I thought about was death, that every day, every minute, I waited for it to be my turn, and that all the pain of loss made me question my own existence? There was no one to share that with, no one who could understand what was happening inside me. I became a different person. Nobody warned me about that. War changes people in ways that can't be described, and the pain, the scars it leaves, are invisible but everlasting. I wanted to go back to what I was before. I wanted to be the same Harold I was before the war, but that was impossible. I wasn't that man anymore. I was someone else, someone who saw the worst in humanity and survived, but at the same time left a part of himself in that war. Today, looking back, I understand that war doesn't end when you come home. It stays with you forever. The memories, the losses, the friends who went, all of that remains inside you. I saw many of my friends fall in the war, but over the years, I also saw many other veterans carrying the same pain, no matter how much time passes. What war does to you never completely disappears. We all have invisible scars, and we all fight with them in ways that nobody can see. I don't regret what I did. I'm proud to have served my country, but war doesn't have winners, it has survivors. And even if you survive, you're never the same. The losses are too great to be overcome in a single moment. They continue to shape us, even when we think we're healed. But the most important thing is to remember those who didn't come back. They deserve to be remembered. I will always carry the memories of Alan, Billy, Jack, and so many others with me. They will live on as long as I do. If you know a veteran, if you know someone who was there, ask them how they're really doing. Ask them about what they went through. Because, like me, many of us are still trying to understand and live with what happened. And as much as we try to move on, the war will always be with us.